All right, what is up, my friends? Welcome to my complete set review for Dominaria United. Damn, every card, constructed, limited. We're going over all of them. We're giving out our awards as we always do. I'm pumped for this set. You should be too. We got 10 new brews coming up on Tuesday. We got our bronze coming up next week, which should be great. We got events coming up. We got freaking poker night. We got fantasy football all in the Discord. Check that out. We got a pre-release in the Discord. All those are free to play. Free to play with prizes. Get involved in the community, all right? I want to see you there playing in the Discord, free to play. Let's just get started. I got 10 new brews, of course. 10 new brews on Tuesday. Be there or be equal on all sides. Let's get our blue cards on. If you missed white, different video. Go watch it on YouTube, all right? There's everything on here will be up on YouTube as always. Let's get started with our blue cards here. And start with a really interesting card in Academy Lore Master. This is a blue for a 2/3 human wizard, which is a pretty good rate, honestly. It's pretty fine for a blue creature. It's also a wizard and a human. At the beginning of each player's draw step, that player may draw an extra card. If they do, spells they cast this turn cost 2 more to cast. So kind of a cool card, obviously meant to be a flash card, right? So you play this card on turn 2, and then you draw an extra card every turn and don't play a spell in your main phase. Your opponent has to play spells in their main phase, so they can't draw cards. Pretty cool card, honestly. And this card, you gotta have a deck for it. You gotta be playing a mostly flash deck and does not want to play in your main phase at all, or be playing a bunch of cheap cards. But this card is pretty sweet. Of course, the downside is that your opponent can draw an extra card first if they are not doing anything either. If they're not playing a deck that needs to develop, they can just kind of like draw some cards and say go. If they get to go, untap, draw an extra card, play a land, say go, upkeep, kill it, that's pretty bad. That's pretty bad. So there are definitely major risks with this card, but the payoff is pretty cool too as a build around, and the rate's pretty reasonable too. So this card's kind of cool. This card's kind of sweet. In limited, it's an interesting card. It's 2/3 for 2, which is fine. I don't know how it's going to play it. It's a very weird card. This is a very, very hard card to contextualize how it's going to play, but seems super sweet. It does seem like a really cool card. Is it good? I don't really know. Is it a fun card? Yes. Does it make a lot of interesting decisions? I think so. So kind of a cool card. In an extra turn deck, maybe. It could be a thing for sure. The thing is you need to play your cards at instant speed, though. So I don't know. We'll see. Kind of a cool card. Definitely a fun design. I'm interested to see where it goes. Moving on to Academy Wall. This is a 3 mana for an 0/5 defender, so pretty big butt. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcerer spell, you may draw a card. If you do, discard a card. Triggers once a turn. So again, there are some wall synergies here in the set across all the colors. This is a reasonably sized wall. The ability is okay, obviously, if you play a kill spell and loot a land away and limited. It's pretty cool. Obviously a limited only card. And the butt's pretty big too, honestly. It's a pretty solid butt.
Oh
and
my god, Becky.
just like a synergy card. I don't think you're playing this card just like in the dark for the most part, unless you're desperate for a wall or a defender, or I guess not a defender, but a creature that can block things, not a defender in name only. But definitely a good card for the walls deck as well. Probably a solid, if unexciting, limited card for sure. Aether Channeler is next, and
It's a trap.
folks, we gotta have a talk. All right, I know you all love your charms. All right, Magic players love charms so much. They love them. They have flexibility. They want to feel smart and have all the options. The problem is with charms is that you're never getting a good rate on what you're paying for. Okay, so Aether Channeler is 3 cards in 1. It is 3 mana for a 2/1. It is a human wizard, which is, 2 good types for sure. When it ETBs, choose 1. Make a 1/1 bird token with flying. Return a non-land permanent to its owner's hand, or draw a card. All right, so all of those are exactly fine. We have a 2/1 and a 1/1 flyer, which is a pretty, that's what? Pianalar, right? Which, got you the Thopter, which is not great. It's only okay. It's a mana war. It can balance non-land permanents too, but for the most part, it's just a mana war, right? Which is a card that's not playable constructed. And then it's a draw card, which is just a Wistful Selkie, I guess. It's Utu, it draws a card for 3, which is also not really a playable card constructed. So none of the cards that this card are playable and constructed by themselves. The question is the versatility enough to make this card playable? I say no, unless, there's a one big caveat here, unless you're playing a deck that is restricted in some way. So for example, if I'm playing humans in Modern, and I'm playing 4 Ancient Ziggurat and 4 Cavernous Souls, and I can't play spells, I need to play creatures, that, do things or whatever, but also humans, then it's reasonable, and maybe you want it as an answer like Ensnaring Bridge or whatever. That's okay. Or I'm playing like Collect the Company. I just need to have more hits that do spell-like effects. Otherwise, this card just isn't that good. I mean, it just doesn't do enough, And the other creatures that are like this, Charming Prince and the black one, which I forget the name of, that comes into play and makes a pest or exiles a graveyard or draws a card, lose a life. Those cards see very little play unless they have a specific role to do. Charming Prince doing Yorian loops, or that black creature being a graveyard hate card you can company for. So, Callous Blood Mage, thank you, Chad. So, I think this card, all in all, will see very, very little play on rate or in standard, and maybe very, very fringe play in like company decks or Aether Vial decks. Maybe. But overall, Seafing, a first-time Shatter, says, this is just 3 commons and a trench coat posting as a rare. Love it. Nailed it. First time Chatter, welcome. I'm happy to have you here with insight like that. In Limited, this card's great because all 3 of his cards are great in Limited. So it's a great Limited card, but in Constructed, this card doesn't really get there. That's my trap card for blue, and it's not really about it. A card I am about, though, is Battlewing Mystic. 2 mana for a 2/1 flyer, Bird Wizard, which is very, very solid Limited already. Kicker 1 red. When you kick it, you may discard your hand and draw 2 cards. So, just like Seasoned Pyromancer, if your hand is empty, this can be a 3 mana Muldrifter, which is awesome. Is this card playable in Constructed? Honestly, I think it's probably closer than you think. It probably isn't, but it's close. It is close. If you play this thing and draw 2 cards off of it with no cards in hand, that's really awesome. That's a super solid card. So probably not in Constructed, but it's close. It is close. And then in Limited, this card is phenomenal. A 2/1 flyer for 2 is already great. And then if you ever get later in the game, you're empty-handed, bam, play this thing, draw 2 cards. That's also phenomenal. So slam dunk Limited card. And then a possible, maybe playable Constructed card. I'd be really happy if it was. Super cool card. Super cool card. Up next is Combat Research, another cool card. 1 mana for an enchant creature. The enchanted creature has the Curiosity ability. Whenever it deals damage to a player, you draw a card. That's cool. As long as it's legendary, it gets +1/+1 and has Ward 1. So a cool card because Curiosity is, it's close to playable. But put this on an Isamaru Hound of Khanda, right? Or I guess a Ragavan works too, whatever. And +1/+1 and Ward 1 is really good. So the question is, how many 1 mana legendary creatures are there? There are not many. I looked. I checked. There are not that many. So I think this card, maybe could be kind of cool. I guess like the Saram deck is kind of a possible place to go. Ragavan already has the abilities in this card for sure. So this is mostly a Curiosity with some cool flavor text. The kind of card that will get better as more legends are printed that cost 1 mana. It's a cool card. I don't really think it's going to be great. Light Pause, sure, that works well also with this card. But all in all, it's a cool card that might not find a home, but it's a reasonably powerful card if you're using the Legendary Clause. If it's only Curiosity, it's not that exciting. And then in Limited, not a big fan of Curiosity in Limited. If you're playing enough Legends and have some flyers also, maybe, but I don't know. It's a cool design. I'm just trying to make it sound cool because I just like it. But up next is Coral Colony. 2 mana for a 1/4 defender, so good stats. 2 mana to tap, target player mills X cards, Rex the number of creatures you control have defenders. So here's your defender payoff, right? There's definitely a few decent defender commons, and then each color has at least one kind of like defender payoff card that's pretty good, honestly. So if you're playing the defender deck, this feels like your win condition, right? You play this thing, have a few defenders in play, mill 4, you're dead. So again, if you're playing the defender deck, this is the card you want in Limited for sure. Honestly, a 1/4 defender for 2 really isn't that bad. Just as far as like a blocker goes. So card's cool. Honestly, card's cool. Kind of like it. And cool Limited card. Again, kind of an archetype card, but a pretty good one. Up next is Defiler of Dreams. This is the blue entry into the Phyrexian cycle that allows you to play Phyrexian mana for your blue permanent spells. So we have a 4/3 flyer for 5, which is not a good rate. 5 mana for 3 tundras is not good at all. Lightning Strike kills this thing. Spoiler alert, I guess, but not a very good rate. The ability, however, is very good. So again, The Phrexian mana ability, all of your blue permanents can cost 1 blue less to cast. You pay 2 life. Note this is not cumulative. You can't play a Lord of Atlantis for 4 life. It only reduces the spells by 1 blue. So Lord of Atlantis would cost 2 life and 1 blue or 2 blue. And then whenever you cast a blue permanent spell, draw a card. That's a very powerful ability. So the white one makes a 1/1. This one draws a card. And that is good. That's a very, very good ability. The question is, like, what deck would ever want this card? You know? And I don't really have a good answer for that. Again, total bomb and limited. But in constructed, this is a fragile 5-mana card that you probably need to untap with. And then you also want to be playing a bunch of cheap blue permanents, which is kind of weird also. So very, very, very odd card. Probably not playable constructed, but as a limited card, slam dunk bomb. Slam dunk bomb. I believe they stack, so if you have 2 of these in play, you can cast Lord of Atlantis for 4 life, but I'm not exactly sure. Either way, that probably is irrelevant to any deck ever. So, moving on to Gin of the Fountain. We have 6 mana, 4/4 flying Gin. Whenever you cast an instant or sorcery spell, choose one. Gets +1/+1 on the turn. You can blink it, which is pretty good, or you can scry one. So kind of a decent top-end limited threat. You know, it gets pretty big flyer. You can have it protect itself. You can scry a little bit. You can grow a little bit. A 4/4 for 6, though, is not really a great rate. It's like a 4/5 even. You know, on 6 mana, this thing doesn't really block your opponent's 5 and 6 drops that well. So if your deck is looking for a win condition and limited, this card can do that, but it is pretty small for the cost, and the effects are pretty minimal as well. Like how many instant sorceries you're actually casting, you know. So it's an okay draft top end card, but not super great. Not super great. Up next is Atari's Scorn. This is a pretty good card. This is your cancel, so blue 1 instant counter target spell. But it costs 1 blue less to cast if an opponent has cast 2 or more spells this turn. So, very good in the counter war. And then, honestly, just good if your opponent's double spelling. They just play a spell, you counter for 2, which is kind of cool. So, kind of a cool one. And then cancel, you know, it's not that far off of playability. You know, we've seen, you saw it coming and absorb, all these cards see play, you know, and they're pretty close to cancel. So, cool card, could see main deck play, and it's kind of cool because it's just good against the things. It's good at counter wars. And it's good against opponents who want to try and double spell to overload your counter spells. So, card's cool. I like it. In limited, you probably shouldn't play this card. It's just a cancel. Essence Scatter's back. I like Essence Scatter. Essence Scatter's sweet. Counter creature spell. Playable and constructed for sure. Definitely a solid card. And then in limited, it's alright. I'm not huge on counter spells in limited, but it's a fine one. It's a fine one for sure. Bring back Remove Soul. Right? Bring back Remove Soul.
Our hero returns.
Screw Essence Scatter. Founding the Third Path. We have a saga again with our read ahead ability. This allows you to skip the chapter on your saga and start at any point you want to start. So if I want to start at chapter 2, I can start there and then finish the saga as it can be. Chapter 1 is you may cast an instant or sorcery card with mana value 1 or 2 from your hand for free, which is kind of an odd ability, honestly. You just like play this, then shock something for free. Then chapter 2 is target player mills 4 cards, which is also kind of eh. And then chapter 3 is you can exile an instant sorcery card from your graveyard and then flash it back. So this card doesn't actually give you anything. It doesn't draw you a card. There's no card advantage here. This is literally just a card that allows you to get the mana back on your first cast, then mill yourself for 4, and then you finally get the card back on chapter 3 when you flash back a card. All in all, I don't think that's good enough, honestly. Milling 4 is okay. This is not an instant or sorcery in and of itself. So like if you're playing some sort of instant and sorcery based synergy deck with prowess, triggers or Arclight Phoenix or cards that care about instant sorceries, this card itself doesn't really do that. And then again, the only card you're getting off of this is the card you flash back, which is just okay. So I'll say I'll be amazing. I guess you can do. I'm sorry. I'm misreading the. I'm sorry. I apologize. I'm sorry. I'm conflating the first and third abilities. I was thinking you could flash back a card that costs 1 or 2. That is not true. You can actually flash back anything. So I apologize. Magma Opus is not in standard anymore, right? This is my job. It's what I do for a living. Actually, hold on. Strixhaven is rotating, right? What's in standard? Good website, right? Rotates, yeah, it's out. It's out. Right, so no Magma Opus. So if there's some big card you want to cast, I guess, sure. Oh, you gotta cast it. All right. You gotta cast it. It's not even free. This is why I do YouTube only. You know, no chat. No chat to screw me up. I apologize. There are many words in this card, and I'm trying to read them. I'm doing my best. You gotta cast the card, obviously. It's not free. This card sucks. I'm moving on. All right, done. Let's go to a cool card here. Let's go to a cool card. Frost Fist Strider. Berg Strider's back, friends. Blue 3 for an elemental giant. Ward 2. When it ETBs, tap a creature your opponent controls and stun it. Again, a stun counter is a counter. That means that if the creature become untapped, it doesn't, and the counter goes away. Basically just the frost ability we always see in blue. It's only one counter. This is just a better Berg Strider, and Berg Strider was the absolute bomb diggity in that draft format. So this is a absolutely phenomenal limited card. Super, super awesome. Ward 2 is great. Always works. Great limited card. Slam it. Unplayable constructed. Moving on to Haughty Gin. This card is pretty impressive. Blue 1 for a Jin. It's a flying star 4. Its power is equal to the number of instant and sorcery cards in your graveyard. And instant and sorcery cards in your graveyard instant sorcery cards you cast cost 1 less to cast. This is a good card. 4 toughness is a lot. It's not going to be hard to have this card be a 4/4 very, very fast. And as the game goes on, it's only getting bigger. And the fact that it shrinks your mana cost as well. So on turn 4, you can go cast this thing, 1 mana Lightning Strike, is also really, really exciting too. So I think this card's great. I think this card's a definite winner. There are some good spell, kind of like prowessy cards in the set for sure. And Reducing Costs is good. It blocks really well, which is important. You know, if this card only had 3 toughness, I'm off it. But 4 is a lot. It blocks well. It survives burn spells. This card's great. Super, super solid constructed card. Obviously a great limited card. I'm in. Sign me up for Haughty Gin and those wonderful, wonderful abs. Wish I had abs like that, but I do not. Moving on to our next card. Haunting Figment. 2 and a 4, 2/1 illusion with vigilance. Can't be blocked as long as you've cast an instant or sorcery spell this turn. Draft filler 2-drop. Not particularly exciting, just draft filler 2-drop. Impede Momentum. This is where things get interesting with stun counters. All right, so once again, stun counter, if it goes on a creature, it would untap. Instead, you remove the counter, right? So, 2 mana for a sorcery, not an instant, unfortunately. Tap to our creature and put 3 stun counters on it. Scry 1. So, with 3 counters on it, it won't untap for 3 turns. That's a really cool question because is this worth a card? If this thing drew a card, I think it would be playable constructed. Full stop. It only scries 1. So you are down a card here in the exchange. This is a pure tempo card. I tap your thing. You can't use it for 3 turns. I'm going to try and win the game in those 3 turns. Or get the game to a point where I'll have an inevitability to win anyway. And again, I have no idea if this card's good or not. We've never really seen that before. I mean, Heliod's Punishment, I guess, is like one of the closest amalgamations to it. And that card is reasonable. 3 turns is not that long in a game of limited. So my instinct is this card's only going to be good in like either really aggressive decks or decks that really want to just stall for a few turns and have an unbeatable late game in limited. But yeah, I agree. The design here is awesome. I think turning the freeze mechanic into stun counters is great. And I'm very curious to know how many stun counters is worth a card. You know, if it was just 1 mana spell, sorcery, stun X. At what point is it a constructed playable card? I'm curious. I want to know. And I don't know. I don't know the answer to that for you. So in limited, probably a good tempo card. Not a card you would take early, but probably a reasonable card. And then in constructed is unplayable. Impulse returns without the shuffle ability. Any boomers out there? Get it? Shuffle ability? No. Impulse, of course, is the classic, impulse. No anticipate, no shimmer possibility. 2 mana instant, look at the top 4, pick 1, rest go to the bottom. So, honestly, not a great card. It is okay. It is good in combo decks specifically, and otherwise not particularly great. 2 mana is too much to spend for your brainstorm ponder kind of effect, unless you're really digging for a combo piece of some kind. So, Will it see some play? A little bit, maybe, but overall kind of unexciting. It's funny because there's actually a domain card from Invasion, which is a impulse for the number of basic lands you have at this cost, which is kind of cool. I'm surprised they didn't put that card in the set instead of this card, but whatever, sure. Is an upgrade for the Lotus Field decks and Pioneer, but already play Shimmer. Although those decks are all sorcery speed anyways, doesn't matter that much. But yeah, so kind of a cool card to have back. Not exactly a world beater or anything like that. Yeah. Joint Exploration. Now, this is a 2-mana cantrip I can get behind. 2-mana instant. Scry 2, draw a card. It's Omen of a Sea. However, it is kicker green, and if you kick it, you can put a land into play. So if you can kick it, it's a growth spiral that scries 2, or you can just cast it for 2 as like a super cycling as well. This card's sweet. I'm not sure what deck exactly wants this card, but it is a sweet card. Kind of a cool variant on the on growth spiral. Scrying 2 is very nice. Flexible card as well. It's cool. I like it. Fine draft card. Definitely a card that has legs and constructed. And we'll see. It's a cool card, though. Micromancer. 2 mana for a 3/3. When it ETBs, search your library for an instant sorcery card that costs 1. Reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. Go get your Ancestral Recall, right? Obviously, this card is predicated on how good your 1-drop spells are. And constructed, no. It's just a Hill Giant. I don't think you want this card unless you're getting a card that's busted, and that's probably not a thing. In Limited, I mean, there aren't that many good 1-mana spells. If you have a few of them, this card is fine. Otherwise, it's not great. So it's pretty simple, basically. Do you have good 1-mana spells? If you do, this card's good. If you don't, not so good. So it does get X spells. That is true. It does get Banefire and Friends in theory. But yeah, gets March. But yeah, 4 mana for a 3/3 is not good enough for constructed. So moving on to Negate. It's Negate, folks. You know what it does. The Phasing of Zephyr. I'm probably saying that wrong. Blue 2 for a read-ahead saga. Chapter 1 and 2 is another non-land permanent phases out, and it can't phase in for as long as you control the Phasing of Zephyr. So, kind of like a Parallax Wave, honestly, where you get to temporarily phase things out. It can be your opponent's things to push through damage, or it can be your things to protect them, because Chapter 3 is destroy all creatures, and for each destroyed creature, make it into a 2/2 Phyrexian token. So, this is your weird blue Wrath of God, right? So you get to Wrath the board, make everything into a 2/2. Is that good? Not really. Obviously, if you're playing like a deck that makes tokens, and your opponent's playing a deck full of 4/4s, sure, you can even the odds a little bit, but, and you can definitely protect your own creature, and then, obviously, you phase your own things out, cast the Wrath, yada, yada, yada. The problem is that giving your opponent 2/2s isn't that much of a downgrade. So if you Wrath all the creatures, say they have 4 creatures in play, and they have a 2/1, a 2/2, a 3/3, and a 3/3. Downgrading that to 4 2/2s isn't really that good either. So, Constructed, this isn't really a card. In Limited, this is a really good card, though, because you can phase your stuff out and protect it, which is kind of cool. And then again, you can also just play this card offensively and just phase your thing out, attack, phase your thing out, attack, kill you. But yeah, kind of a pretty weird card for sure. Phrexian Espionage is next. 2 mana for a sorcery. Draw 2 cards. If it's kicked for 1 black and 1 colorless, each opponent discards a card. Not quite Probe from all my boomers out there, but this card's solid, honestly. So Divination is seen play constructed. I've played Divination in my control decks and constructed before. All right, that's happened before. I'm not saying it's going to happen again, but it's not that far off. Little value on the kicker. Probably not good enough, honestly, for constructed. But in Limited, this card's fine. 2 for 1, could be a 3 for 1. I could see a controlling blue-black deck wanting this card Limited for sure. Just be aware of it. If you're playing a card like this, make sure you have a good amount of kill spells and a good amount of cards that kind of keep you up on the board, because you can't just tap out for this behind on board. You'll fall too far behind and you'll lose. Pixie Illusionist. This card is a freaking homage to the set Invasion. It is effectively 2 popular Invasion commons rolled into 1. 1 mana for a 1/1 flyer, and it has the ability to tap to make a land that you control, not your opponent's lands, the basic land type of your choice. It's a mana fixer, or it's a domain enabler. Then you can kick it for 4 mana, 1 green, 3 colorless, and it'll be a 3/3 flyer instead of a 1/1 flyer. So similar to Fairy Squadron and Vaudalian something or other, Illusionist. And this is a fine card, but not a super exciting card, because unfortunately a 1/1 flyer for 1 and a 3/3 flyer for 5 are both a little under the bar in limited these days. It's a mana fixer, which is kind of cool. Unfortunately, you can't target your opponent's lands, which is one of the annoying parts of Invasion Limited, was this card could target your opponent's lands. You just mana screw them. You're just like, yeah, it's a mountain. Yeah, sorry, it's a mountain. Yeah, sorry, it's a mountain. So kind of an interesting card, kind of a cool card. I wouldn't be super stoked about this card. But yes, changing your land type makes it into a different land, so you can tap for different powers. It is a mana fixer in that sense. But yeah, kind of a cool common, but it's not super great. Protect the Negotiators. Mr. Kenobi, or General Kenobi, the Negotiator. Whatever. I screwed it up, alright? 2 mana for an instant. Counter target spell, also as a controller, pays 1 for each creature you control. So, an okay ability. It's, Spell Pierce range, sort of. Has the kicker of make a token, which is kind of cool, honestly. But now we're looking at a 3 mana counter spell. I think this card is just a little too weak. This card is not Unified Will. You need to have a lot of creatures in play to make this card work. If it does work, it will be pretty good. And if there is a cool, white-blue aggro deck that has a lot of tokens in it, this card could be a card for sure constructed. But I'm worried that the tax just isn't enough to get there. So, cool card, but I think it falls a little bit short on rate. In Limited, this card does seem pretty good, actually, because it's not hard to have a board of creatures, and then you get a token as well for little value. So, all in all, a kind of a cool card, but a little underpowered. Rona's Vortex, 1 mana for an instant. This is the black kicker uncommon. And return target creature or planeswalker you don't control to its owner's hand. You don't control there, very, very important. If it was kicked, put that permanent on the bottom of its owner's library instead. So, this is a 1 mana unsummon or a 4 mana removal spell at instant speed. The problem is, as an unsummon, this card kind of sucks. You really want to be able to target your own stuff in Constructed, because against the decks that aren't playing many creatures, you want to be able to save your own stuff too. It's the flexibility of an unsummon, right? You can bounce their big thing and attack them, or you can protect your own thing. This card can't do that. So as an unsummon, this card's pretty bad. And unsummon's not great in general. As a 4 mana removal spell, this card's also pretty bad in Constructed. So in Constructed, this card's not really there. In Limited, this card's great. Because unsummon your opponent's creature is not really there in Limited. But for the most part in Limited, this is blue, black 2, destroy target creature, which is pretty good at instant speed. So flexibility and then power, good Limited card, not really there in Constructed. Shore Up, I like this card. This is a blue Snakeskin Veil. 1/1 blue for an instant. Creature you control gets +1/+1 to end of turn, and then it gains hexproof as well. And then untap it. So this is an awesome card for Aura's decks, for the mono blue, sort of like Curious Obsession, whatever deck. Good protection spell here. I think this is a lot better than Slip Out the Back. I think Slip Out the Back kind of sucks. I like that card a lot when I first saw it, but phasing your own creature out as a trick is just not cool. It's just like, all right, I guess I won't attack you this turn, sure. So I think this card's sweet. It's obviously a little worse than Snakeskin Veil, and a little worse than Blossoming Defense, but still a pretty good card, and in a color that actually wants its effect. So solid card, definitely could see play in Constructed. And then in Limited, it's okay. I do love one mana tricks in Limited. So it's okay Limited card, solid Constructed card. We'll definitely see play. Silver Scrutiny. Look, all right? I'm a control player, and I love Jace's Ingenuity, all right? I can't get away from it. Can't quit it. This is the best Jace's Ingenuity ever printed. Blue X. You may cast this card as though it has flash if X is 3 or less. Draw X cards. So we're looking at 3 mana instant, draw 1 card. 4 mana instant, draw 2 cards. 5 mana instant, draw 3 cards. So Jace's Ingenuity or Inspiration, which are both fine. Both solid cards, And then later in the game, it's a Mind Spring. Which is blue X, draw X cards, So we have 7 mana in play, bam, draw 5 cards. I think this card's sweet. Everyone in chat's like, this card's terrible. Listen, there has to be a draw-go deck for this card to actually work. That's why it's a sleeper and not the best in show, If there aren't enough good counter spells and there isn't really enough cards for a good draw-go kind of control deck, sure, this card's not going to be playable. But if that card exists, or that deck exists, this card's super solid. And then as far as comparing it to Memory Deluge, there's some competition there for sure. This card's super solid. I don't know. the Deluge comparison is reasonable for sure. So maybe, I guess, with Deluge available, this card is gonna be as good. But this card's sweet. This card's sweet. I love Jace's Ingenuity. Maybe I'm tainted by my own personal love for Jace's Ingenuity, but I'm calling Sleeper here. It's my damn television show, and I'll give out the awards any way I damn well want to, all right?
Still a piece of garbage.
In Limited, this card's unbelievable. Take it in Limited. Moving on. Soaring Drake. When Drake gets an upgrade, it's a 2/3 flyer for 3. This is much, much better than Wind Drake is, because Wind Drake is unplayable and limited. Still not that impressive, though, but I think this card is okay. It's okay to say the least here. So, Soaring Drake is an okay limited card. Nothing more. It's just fine. It's just fine. Whoa, I hit the wrong button. Hold on, sorry. My bad. Sphinx of Clear Skies. We have a 5-mana, 5/5 Mythic. Flying Ward 2 Sphinx. Domain. Whenever it does combat damage to a player, reveal the top X cards of your library, where X is the number of basic land types among lands you control, and the opponent puts those cards into piles. You pick a pile, put it in your hand, put the other card in the graveyard. So, basically, you factor fiction for your land types when this thing hits. Of course, the problem is that, like, if I'm playing a 5/5 flyer and then hitting you with it, I'm already probably in pretty good shape. Obviously, your trigger is pretty cool. I don't know what deck would want this card, because, like, I don't know if my Domain deck is going to be considering a blue, 5-mana, 5/5 flyer as payoff for being a Domain deck. So Constructed, this card probably isn't really doing much. In Limited, it's a huge bomb. A huge bomb, obviously. But it's going to be hard in Constructed to, like, have a deck that wants this card that has land types also. So, not really a card for Constructed, but great limited card. Slam dunk bomb for sure. Tala's Lookout. Boom! It's our Bombin Common. This card is great. 4 mana for a 3/2 flying human pirate. So 3/2 flyer for 4. When it dies, look at the top 2 cards of your library, put one of them in your hand, and then one in the graveyard. So this card is the exact opposite of the cards we were looking at in white. In white, there were 2 4-mana flyers that were like 2/2s that had no effect on the board and were bad blockers when you played them. This card is the exact opposite. Right? This is a 3/2 flyer for 4, so it attacks perfectly well, but it's a card you actively want to block with. So it's a good attacker and a good blocker, and that's what makes a good limited card. So this card is phenomenal. You're going to play this card a lot and just block with it immediately. Take your trade, draw your good card, put a card in the graveyard, and if you ever don't need to do that, it's a flyer. Great, awesome. So yeah, this is the Flying Organ Hoarder. This card is excellent. Probably the best blue common. Bombin Common for sure. Love it. Love it. Card's super great. Moving on, Tide Pool Turtle. 4 mana for a 2/5 turtle. 2/5 turtle.
Oh my god, Becky.
3 mana Scry 1. This is like your average limited defensive creature. It's fine. It's a mana sink. It blocks. It's all right. I feel like you'll know if your draft deck wants this card, but your deck does not always want this card. Simple as that. Timely Interference. 2 minutes in the box. 1 blue for an instant. Target creature gets -1/-0 to end of turn, and then draw a card. And then if you kick it for 1 red and 1 colorless, that creature has to block this turn. This card's sweet. I do love my 1 mana tricks. This is a potential 2-for-1 for 1 mana in limited, which is great. I have a bear, you have a bear, I attack, you block, I cast this. Is that always going to happen? No. But the potential is there, and the floor is just like target your creature, draw a card. Game 1 life, draw a card, whatever. And that floor is great. And then the kicker gives you the ability where, all right, well, block with your small creature. Here you go, attack, which is also pretty cool as well. It's also a cantrip for the spells archetype. It's a cheap cantrip. This card's great. I like this card a lot. I think this is a really good limited card. Very, very easy card to gloss over in limited, but really, really cool. And Constructed, you can't play cards like this. You can't have your cantrip be tied to a creature, and it's not really worth it in Constructed. But in limited, super cool. Like it a lot. Card's sweet. Talarian Geyser. 3 mana for a sorcery. Repulse. That's right, Repulse.
Our hero returned.
Bounce a creature, draw a card. Simple as that. Obviously, it's a sorcery, not an instant, which is a huge downside, but still fine tempo card. And then, of course, you get to gain 3 life if you kick it. This card's fine. Solid card. I bounce your thing, draw a card is fine. If you're playing a deck that's trying to get to the late game or remove blockers, this card's totally reasonable. Most important is this card replaces itself. So you're not down a card like most bounce spells are. Obviously, would love this card to be an instant. It's not. As an instant, this card's great. But as a sorcery, this card's still playable. I like it. Solid card. Gaining some life is pretty cool too. Good, cool draft card. Speaking of cool cards, Talarian Terror. This card is awesome. 7 mana for a 5/5. It's a Serpent. It has affinity for instants and sorcery cards in your graveyard. And it has Ward 2. This card's really, really good. Like really, really good. So this card could easily cost 1 or 2 mana, on turn 3 or 4-ish. And a 5/5 is a huge body. And it's got Ward, which is also awesome. This is definitely a huge pauper card. In Constructed, it's a maybe. In older formats where this card will be at its best, where you have Brainstorm Ponder or whatever, like really good cheap cantrips, Murktide Regent exists, unfortunately, which kind of makes this card not really there. In Constructed, in Standard or maybe Pioneer or Historic, could definitely end up seeing play. The body's great, and the body's good early. Consider is legal in Standard, which is cool. So, card's sweet. Card's sweet. Similar to Gurmag Angler for sure. Super, super solid common. It's going to be great in limited if you're playing enough spells to make it, cost 4 or 5 mana. And then definitely a playable constructed card as well. And definitely a huge pauper card. Huge pauper card for sure. Card sweet. Card sweet. I love it. And it is pretty big for a 5/5. I kind of agree. That's a huge Serpent. And then limited, great card limited too, if your deck wants it. Vesuvian Diplomacy is next. 4 mana for an enchantment. If you cast a spell that targets only a single artifact or creature you control, make a token that's a copy of that artifact or creature, except it's not legendary. This is like your silly commander build-around card. Sure, whatever. Don't play this card limited or constructed. It's a fun commander card. And up next is Voda Sea Scavenger, which is a 3 mana 3/2 with Domain. When ETBs look at the top X cards of your library, Rex is your domain. Put one of those cards on the top, rest on the bottom. This is your standard Diplomacy. What did I say? This is your standard 3/2 like filler common in limited. You don't want to play this card if given the option, for sure. If this card made your deck, you shouldn't be happy. It's not a good draft card. Vodalian Hex Catcher is next. 2 mana for a 1/1. This is the Merfolk Lord. Again, there's 1 Lord for each color. And it's a flash Merfolk Wizard. It's a Lord. Pumps your Merfolk +1/+1. Most importantly, it allows you to sacrifice a Merfolk to counter target non-creature spell. Unless the controller pays 1. This card's pretty good. Now, of course, Merfolk has no shortage of 2 mana Lords. But this one is very solid. And the ability to turn all your cards into Curse Catchers, so you can counter that Wrath or counter that whatever, untap and just kill them, is pretty sweet. So, card's cool. The fact that it has Flash is very interesting, because this card actually plays well with counter spells, whereas most Merfolk Lords don't. So, that's kind of cool. For Standard, there aren't many Merfolk, unfortunately. So, more of an older format card. I worry a bit because there are so many Lords already, but this one is pretty sweet. Kind of a cool card. In Limited, are there other Merfolk? Have we seen a Merfolk yet? I don't really know. In Limited, it's not particularly great, but in Constructed, for sure. And then Ixalan's coming as well. That'll have some Merfolk as well, too, probably. Vodalian Mindsinger. This is the double off-color kicker card, rare for blue. Blue 1, 2/2. When it ETBs, gain control of a creature with power less than this creature's power for as long as you control it. So kind of like a weird Soar Temptation. Has kicker green 1 and red 1. Or red 1. And then it ETBs with 2 counters on it for each kicker paid. So this can be a 5 mana 4/4 that can steal things that have power 4 or less. Or a 7 mana 6/6 that can steal things that are smaller as well. This card isn't really there in Constructed. If there's a deck playing some really important 1 power creature that can't really kill things, sure, that's a pretty narrow criteria. But as a limited card, this card's awesome, which is cool. So definitely, it's kind of a cool card. I don't think it's really there. It's just okay. This is not Mind Flayer or Soar Temptation. It's just okay. It is a Merfolk, which is kind of cool, and because of that, may see play in older formats. But yeah, kind of just an okay card. Good limited card though. Good limited card. And then our last card in blue is Volsci Tide Turner. 2 mana for a Merfolk 1/3, because there are Merfolk. Taps for a blue, only for instant sorcery spells or a kick spell. This is like your limited filler 2-drop. If you're playing a bunch of instant sorcery, sure, but this card's okay. It's whatever. It's not super great. Not super great. So that's blue. To recap, Our best in show is Haughty Gin, which I'm really, really impressed with. Our trap card is Aether Channeler. Don't get trapped, folks. Our sleeper card is Silver Scrutiny, because I freaking love Jason's ingenuity. And our Bombin Common is Talus Lookout. Gotta be the best blue common, for sure, for sure. So that's blue. You two folks, like, comment, subscribe. We're gonna keep going on stream. Black is next, of course. And if you miss any of these, they'll all be on YouTube going up tomorrow morning, on Saturday morning, that is. Every section, all the colors, every card. I'll see you there. Like, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts on how wrong I am in the comments, and let's freaking go. Blue, black is next.